Together, we can build a Nova Scotia that puts Nova Scotians first. We'll build doctor clinics across this province so Nova Scotians can get the health care they need when they need it. We'll build homes that people can afford. We'll protect renters.
A new medical school will open up at CBU, which will set the course for the future. When it comes to housing, we came up with a housing plan. We got to work on that housing plan to make sure that more homes, including affordable homes, were built faster. That plan is working.
We are the only ones committing to building the amount of homes that we need to dig ourselves out of this housing crisis. We will focus on the fundamentals of healthcare, making sure that emergency rooms are not closed, making sure that wait times don't continue to go up, make sure that we have doctors that are getting back into family medicine as we build collaborative clinics across this province.
That is just a sample of the CTV roundtable hosted by our very own Todd Battis. The three-party leaders had a lively discussion yesterday around healthcare, housing, and the economy. Voters in Nova Scotia will head to the polls on Tuesday, and to break it all down for us, we've got CTV Atlantic chief anchor Todd Battis. Hey, Todd, thanks so much for joining us.
Oh, my pleasure, Mike. Anytime.
So you're actually 9 months ahead of the fixed election date that Tim Houston had set for himself. So is the PC leader being penalized for sending people to the polls early?
You know, that was always the big concern, right, in Canadian politics, and provincial politics in particular, that you don't call an early election, you'll feel the wrath of voters. It doesn't seem to be the case. When he initially called this election, there was a lot of blowback. Because you're right, the fixed election date was set for July. It's a date that he set when he came to power 3.5 years ago. And then already in the first time that Nova Scotia is going to have a set election date, it's blown up. And here we are at the end of November with a provincial election that nobody wanted except Tim Houston, it would seem. And if you believe the polls, the electorate is not going to punish him for it because he holds a commanding lead in the polls and, in fact, could end up gaining a substantial number of seats, again, if the polls are correct on Tuesday.
Yeah, and all campaigning on a promise to take on Ottawa a little bit better. Now, one thing that we know here, it may not be a change election, it seems anyways, but something that will change is the issue of taxation. How did all parties come to an agreement on that?
This is something extraordinary, I would suggest, in Nova Scotia politics, that all parties, including the NDP, Liberals, PC, have agreed that it's too expensive the way things are in Nova Scotia right now. This is the most taxed province in the country, has been that way for a very long time. But all parties are promising tax cuts of some description, whether it's the NDP promising a gas tax holiday, whether it's a HST cut, which both the PCs and the Liberals are promising to bring in, both the NDPs and the Liberals also promising to bring in cuts to personal income tax. So your exemption rate will be higher, and that will put money, they say, back into the pockets of voters. The NDP also talking about things like removing taxes from groceries and some other items. But that's that is unheard of in Nova Scotia politics for so long. It used to be that politics in this province were run on jobs and health care. We're not talking about jobs in this election. The jobless rate in this province has been very good compared to the historical past. Healthcare always, it's that old chestnut, Mike, it's always an issue here. But the fact that they're talking about the coffers being in good shape, even though there's a $500 million deficit comparatively to what it used to be, that Nova Scotians are going to get a bit of a break on taxes, and I dare to say everyone seems pretty pleased about it.
Yeah, especially with this backdrop of the federal government deciding that they're going to try and give everybody a bit of a holiday, something that I'm sure people out east are celebrating as well.
It's a rare event on the East Coast, Mike.
Yeah, exactly. All right. And we'll be watching for those election results rolling in. You'll be leading our coverage out there. Thanks for this, Todd Battis, CTV Atlantic's chief anchor.